Welcome to Season 2 of Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and false hope collide nightly, like a Masataka Yoshida ground out to second. We break down every loss, every meltdown, and the occasional win, with sarcasm, facts, and no front office spin. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com, or keep wondering how a wildcard team spent an entire offseason avoiding power hitters. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Red Sox Digest, your favorite podcast with your awesome hosts that you love so much. We are joined here this evening by John Martinello, the Martinello Minute Man. He's here. And we have Mr. Third Strike himself, Raffy Devers. Oh, excuse me, Thayer Doyle. Welcome in, gentlemen, tonight to our broadcast, where we'll be diving deep into the series recap here, where the Red Sox took on the San Francisco Giants. And welcome back, Raphael Devers. We'll be talking about him. We will be talking about how we, I think at least in our three opinions, lucked out with a series sweep. We'll get through going through all of that with you. We will preview ahead the Miami Marlins, where the Red Sox will be traveling to Miami, and they will be facing off for a 3-game set in Florida. Then becomes the big challenge on the ticket for this trip, the 4-game series. A reminder, one of those games Saturday night or Saturday afternoon and night is a doubleheader. It is a 4-game set against the Yankees at the house that Ruth did not build because he wasn't a part of that stadium. So we'll get into that series. It's going to be a big one, and look forward to seeing how this team will do on the road. Before we jump into it, like I always like to do when I host, I like to ask everybody how they're doing. So we're going to go around the horn and welcome in Thayer Doyle first. He's in our left-hand square here tonight.
I'm well, Nick. Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm well. I gotta say, I'm shocked that we got the sweep, but as you said, the key is just to keep going. How about yourself? You well?
I am. It was a restful-ish kind of weekend for me. I got to sit down at 3 o'clock and actually watch the game. I had some other entertainment and other avenues, but other than that, it was pretty good.
Excellent.
John, how are you, sir?
Quite well, Nick. Can't complain too much. Exactly. Can't keep a smile off my face when the Red Sox sweep a series.
What did we do for predictions the last time we were here? We did our show, Thursday night? I think I said 2 out of 3 we'd take. John, I think you said sweep.
I may have said sweep, but I wasn't. I would have said sweep. I wasn't on the show, though.
Oh, that's right. You weren't on the show.
I did switch over to sweep for the Diamondback series.
Okay. Thayer, what did you do?
I think I was 1 out of 3, with the possible 2 out of 3, depending on how the first ones went. But I think it was 1 out of 3.
I think all of us were looking at it, if we dial it back to Thursday when we were looking at everything, and we were a little bit more concerned on how the pitching would stack up in this series. And the unknown was kind of what the reception and all would be with Raffy Devers coming back. So what I want to do is I want to start right off the bat with welcoming Raffy Devers back to town, because Raffy came here for the first time since he was traded or exiled, whatever you want to call it, to the Giants back last season. And me coming into it, I didn't think he was going to have that great of a series, because Raffy doesn't like the attention. He doesn't like the spotlight to him. And sometimes when the going gets tough, he turtles. That's what we have seen, at least in the past 2-3 seasons when he was a Red Sox. And he really hasn't backed down from that kind of flow with the media and everything in San Francisco. So he did hit a meaningless kind of home run. I know John said at the time it was something, but I said at the back of my mind, there it is. There's your one. That's all you're going to do. And that's pretty much what it was. for him. I think we talked about it on the Thursday show, and I don't know if John ever had an opinion on this. But John, we were kind of going back and forth, and I said this towards the end of the broadcast with Jim and Thayer. I go, as a fan, what would you do if you were seeing Raffy Devers at Fenway welcoming him back? Are you a booer or are you a cheerer?
Not only am I not a booer, I'm also not a cheer. I would have been on my feet, clapping, cheering, screaming. I was shocked when I saw not even just the first game, his first at bat. This went on for 3 games straight for 10 plate appearances out of Rafael Devers. Mm-hmm. Just incessantly getting booed. I was shocked by it. And you go onto Twitter and you see the people I was posting about it. Why are they booing him? Why would you boo him? And a lot of it just comes down to what people were kind of just spoon-fed after he was traded away last year, and it was he's a horrible teammate, he's selfish, he's a cancer in the clubhouse. I don't think that any of those things are true, but it was just through WEEI or through the Sports Hub or just through Twitter and other media outlets. It was just pounded down that this theory that Rafael Devers was just a horrible human being and that he didn't care. He only cared about the money. And that's why he was shipped off, when in reality, it was just a salary dump. And so listen, if, when he was here, that last game on Father's Day last year, and he hit that home run against Max Fried, that it eventually won them that game, which was another one of those sweeps of the Yankees. Did a single person boo him then? No. There's the bad opinions on Rafael Devers only started after he wasn't a member of this franchise anymore. And that's pretty consistent with any player with a big name when they're shipped out of town. It's just a smear fest on, how can we get the fan base to not like this player anymore? And, so I was shocked by it. I guess I shouldn't have been shocked by it. But listen, like I love Rafael Devers. I follow him pretty closely now that he's in San Francisco, and I'm a big fan of his. Watching him play baseball, I think he's a hell of a baseball player. So I was shocked by it, but everybody's allowed to have their own opinion, so can't get mad at somebody else for what they feel.
Thayer, what's your stance?
I wasn't shocked. I actually figured that it was going to really be more of an indictment of how they felt about the front office. And with the team playing well, I think it became an opportunity to boo Devers instead of really cheering. I think it was more of an opportunity to sort of say, hey, we're not as off at Breslow as we originally were. I think if this team hadn't gone through that July and August and we were in sort of where we were at the beginning of the year, you would have heard a tremendous amount of cheers because it would have been an opportunity to sort of bag on the front office. I think in this situation, it was more of an opportunity to say, hey, we're behind the front office. But I think John is absolutely right. Devers, they as they do with everybody, they smeared him kind of going out the door. I wouldn't have booed, but I don't know if I would have cheered either. I wasn't disappointed with the way he was playing. What disappointed me was his really lack of sort of team first mentality. And at first, I was absolutely behind him when they made him the DH and they talked about bringing in Bregman and moving Bregman to second base, and now suddenly Bregman's going to be the third baseman. I thought front office and Cora screwed that up. I think they blew it from the beginning. And then when Devers wouldn't go to first base after the Casas deal, then it was like, all right, this is on him. The first one is on the Red Sox. The second one is when he needed to man up and go play a little first base. So I'm not shocked. I wouldn't have booed. I wouldn't have cheered. But I think it was really more of the fact that the Red Sox are winning and the Fairweather fans, for the most part, are like, hey, I'm happy. Let's get behind the front office and boo Devers.
I have to agree with the both of you. You have some good points. I think the biggest thing for me, I was more neutral on this. I would not have booed. I would not have cheered. I would have been Switzerland throughout this. I just would have been there to watch the game and observe and see what was going on. But the biggest thing on the reasoning for the boos, I want to make sure that that is crystal clear to folks, is that Devers grew to become an entitled, out of shape, overpaid player for the Red Sox. He did. And he refused to do what the team needed. The team at the time was down Tristan Casas, and they were lacking that first baseman type last season. And they had asked him, John Henry specifically flew out to Kansas City to say, hey, this is what the team needs. This is what I need you to do. And he refused to do it. So obviously, Henry didn't like that response, and he was ready to part ways from that point on. And so that's why he got exiled to the Giants. That's where fans have a right to be upset with him. They do. Because he didn't do the team mentality first. It was more him sticking it to the organization. And for Devers, rightfully so. Because they had told him, put your third base glove away, put your first base glove away, you're our DH. And then it turns into, sorry, the team needs this because we have this many people out. We need you to do that. I still, if that was me and my boss or my coworker needed me to do something for me to not get fired or traded or removed, I'd probably suck it up and do whatever I have to do. Devers isn't that type of guy. And the other thing, too, is Raffy Devers would still be here if Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts were here. Raffy Devers wanted nothing to do with being in the spotlight. He still wants nothing to do with being in the spotlight with the Giants. So on today's broadcast, I don't want to knock Jason Benetti and the rest of the national media, but they're really out of tune with this whole phrase where they say superstars and legends and beloved. Raffy Devers is not one of those guys, folks. He's not. I'm sorry. A superstar is not what Raffy Devers is. That really irritated me when I heard that comment out of them. And I know it's not meant by them to do what it does to me. I just get irritated sometimes at some of the smaller things. But my definition of superstar is definitely not Raffy Devers. And the Red Sox do not have any superstars either. So if you want to come and say, oh, well, Garrett Crochet, your superstar stud pitcher's coming. No, he's a pitcher. Sonny Gray, having a great season. If somebody came up to me and said, oh, look at your superstar stud ace pitcher you have, Sonny Gray, I'd probably knock him out. I just can't. I can't take it when people do this. You know, especially when you grew up as a kid idolizing your championship teams with your David Ortizes, your Manny Ramirez's, your Pedro Martinez's, your John Lesters. That's my upper arsenal of players that I'm putting on my Mount Rushmore. Raffy Devers is thrown in the lake for me. Sorry, but that's just how I feel. Moving on to other things in the sea, while Devers goes back to Alcatraz, we will move over to this man, because I think he deserves some spotlight time here right now. And that's our boy Nick Sogar, who has been a revelation of a player who has sparked this team's need in securing the bag at second base and becoming a guy that I can consistently count on, both with the bat, both being heads up with on the bases, making great plays again when needed, timely hits. Nick Sogard is our second baseman, guys. He is. And I don't want the Red Sox to mess with it. I am that confident and comfortable with what I've seen from him to give him this time here on this pod because I think he deserves it. Let's go to John first.
Yeah, listen, absolutely. This is a guy who's, hasn't been able to stick around in the majors for a great since, especially in these last 3 seasons now. I think it was before this year, he's eclipsed at 31 games in a season. And that's been largely due in part to just the Red Sox had guys that they quote unquote trusted more, which was David Hamilton the last couple of years. That's a conversation for another day that I don't want to have, but he's just never had his opportunity. Now he's finally getting it. This year you could talk about the bat, but I mean the diving catch last night to keep it at a 2-0 game going into the bottom of the ninth. That was the game right there. That Fenway Park was silent after that 8th inning. Bases loaded, nobody out, 2 strikeouts and a flyout in a 2-0 game, and then bases loaded with 2 outs in the top of the ninth. Nick Sogard, diving play, Fenway Park's alive again, and they win the game. Today, obviously, another leadoff home run for him. We had the conversation a couple weeks ago about, who's the leadoff hitter, and it was kind of between Yoshida and between Nick Sogard, potentially talking about Adley Rutschman even leading off. Now it's time to have the conversation on if Nick Sogard, when Roman Anthony comes back, looks like next week, does he still stick in that leadoff spot? Right now, it's hard to say no. But in this series, he had 500. It was a 1643 OPS. He had 2 RBIs, 10 total bases. He scored 4 runs. He only struck out once. The guy works long at bats every single time he's up there, unless he's hitting a home run on the first pitch of the at bat. But 23 games since he's come back up to the big leagues, he's hitting 299 with a 421 on base and 869 OPS and playing good defense. We've been asking for a second. We've been asking for a second baseman. He's doing it. Defensively, we need a guy that could lead off. 421 on base in 23 games. The sample size is there for a guy that, his player profile isn't anything extraordinary. You go look under the hood, there's nothing that jumps off at you like, oh my God, this guy could be an all-star. He doesn't have to be an all-star. He has to be a solid second baseman that puts up a competitive at-bat, plays good defense. That's exactly what he is, and it's just a bonus that he's a switch hitter.
I've said it before on the show. He just gives me Jed Lowry comp so much. Both switch hitter guys, both were versatile, steady presence. Jed Lowry had a very nice major league career. If Nick Sogard could be something of that nature, I'm as happy as a clam. I really am. Thayer, anything you want to add on Nick Sogard?
I agree. He's been playing very well, but I also think we have to pump the brakes a little bit. Okay. I think, to John's point, he is a nice baseball player. He is someone who has played 32, 34 games in the year so far. He wasn't around for June and July. He's shown back up. He's on a hot streak. He's playing well. And I like your comparison, Nick, to Lowry. Now, Lowry was one of my favorite players growing up. I think the idea with him as well is he was a good ball player, and he needs to show it a little bit more consistently. And this is where Boston fans tend to really overhype their guys. He is not going to be a Pedroia. He is not going to be a Gold Glove winner. He's not going to be a guy that is going to be as consistent as he's been for this entire month. He's going to have nice months, but there are going to be weeks where he is going to look like he has no clue at all at the plate, just because that's the kind of player he is. I don't think he is like this exceptional 280 hitter all the time. That takes an awful lot of talent. I don't know if he's got that kind of talent. And he's playing defensively very well now, but he still has some shaky moments. So, like you said, he's a good ball player. And the key to what we're doing is having enough good ball players that can sort of add to the mix. The problem is, and this goes exactly to what you were talking about, Nick, we do not have that superstar. And that's what made guys like Jed Lowry so important, is when you have those superstars that are so consistent and you add these players in to sort of add that adrenaline, you're in good shape. The problem is we have so many of these guys that work on sort of to participate and to do well, they have to expend an incredible amount of energy to do it. And that's why we saw that decline after that incredible winning streak, because that's how they were doing it. They were all just doing it on smoke, mirrors, and guts. And eventually that wears out, where superstars do it on talent. Even when they're in the midst of a slump, they run into balls because they're just so good and they hit bombs all the time. They don't have to get in crazy hot streaks like we see Contreras and Abreu going. But back to what we were talking about, I do enjoy Nick Sogard. I think he's been very important. I think he's going to hopefully lock down second base. But again, we have to be very careful not to overexpose him.
Yep, because you don't want to do something with, I know we got a hit today, which was great to see, but Monasterio has definitely fallen off the cliff there a little bit. So
yes,
we're at a point right now where decisions are going to have to be made.
Yeah. And one more thing on Sogard. The last 2 years, it's been an 85 OPS plus, so just a little bit below league average, but the defense has always been here. Right now, it's up to a 120 before today. Going into today, a 123 OPS plus. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's not the player that he is. If that was the player that he is, then, you know, we have another all-star in our hands. But
he would have been here much sooner.
Exactly. You know, so for him, it's like if he could be a league average bat, 100 OPS plus, maybe 95 OPS plus, and just kind of hover around that range. Obviously, you're going to have weeks like this or, you know, an extended stretch like this, and you're obviously going to have, you know, stretches on the other end of the spectrum. But I feel like it's not not crazy for me to say, like, he's a league average bat with good defense, switch hitter. Obviously, you know, everybody in the clubhouse likes him. You know, that's a guy that I want playing second base for me every single day.
We're going to go back to basics here tonight, guys, as I get my thing back here. There we go. We are now going to go to the third strike.
And now, it's time for the third strike with Thayer.
So I am shocked that we swept this series, but I am very impressed with how well the team has been playing. And this is sort of where I'm going to now. A couple weeks ago, I remember someone asking me, who do you think is the team that is sort of the most dangerous in the American League? And I said the Red Sox, and I know some people laughed at it. I think when they're playing well, they are very capable of doing what we saw. They're starting pitching, and now, granted, it's starting to get a little sketchy, but I think with Gray and with Tolley, and then this is where I tend to believe a little bit more in Suarez, the sort of the playoff pitcher. I think is a guy that is not going to sort of fall to the moment. So with those three guys in a playoff series, added with it your bullpen, if they can stay healthy, of Chapman, of Whitlock, Miller now. I don't know about Slayton, but Guerrero's been doing very well. Those are four guys that you have that can lock down the later innings. And with the offense playing the way it is now, sort of still doing the small things, moving it, being aggressive, it's a very dangerous team. And I think what is so important with this homestand is that I'm not going to say we locked up a playoff position, but we showed that we were capable of coming off that very big winning streak. We had that lull with the losing where everyone started to get very nervous. Are we going to go back sort of the opposite way in that 15-game losing streak as opposed to the 15-game winning streak? And they were able to stop it, and they locked it down. So I think moving forward, what this has done is it has bought us an opportunity to play our own pace going into the playoffs. Now, I know a lot of people talk about you need to win games, you need to get to – I would love to catch the Yankees. But just getting into the playoffs right now is very important because – and getting into the playoffs in the shape that we need to be in. We can't expend Sonny Gray. We can't expend Tolley. We need to save as many bullets out of those guys as we can. I think Suarez is sort of the opposite. We need to ramp him up. We need to get him going. We need him to pitch beyond. I think Tolley's game tonight was an important one. I'm still a little torn on this one that, yes, he pitched well, but we're trying to conserve him. I don't know if we needed him to go 7 innings. I think getting him through 5 showed that he was capable of it, and maybe we can continue to pitch him every so many days, get him days off, extend his season a little bit because we are coming to that inning limit. A man coming off Tommy John a year and a half beyond, don't want to extend him because I do think he is going to be a very important cog in our future. And I don't want to sort of ruin that, but also at the same time, I don't want to cost the 2026 team. So they have to be careful with that. But in general, I think this week's series has done a lot to sort of get this team in the position to make the playoffs and be a very viable contender. I'm not saying to win the World Series, but watching the White Sox, watching the Yankees, watching the Rays, none of those teams are teams that I really think are superior to the Red Sox. And we have a puncher's chance in all of those games simply because of our pitching and our defense. And I really hope, and I have to give Tracy credit, he did a very nice job this week of using his relievers in appropriate positions, not pushing them too much, and sort of bringing them back on different days. It's almost like he has an A squad and a B squad, which has been very helpful. And if he can continue to do that, and I know it's going to frustrate people because we're going to be in situations where, like Saturday, we should have lost that game. But he didn't use really those key relievers. We sort of survived with those other guys and got there to the victory. Yep. We're going to get more games like that where some fans are going to be frustrated that they feel like they're throwing games away. We need to win. We need to win. Yes, winning is nice, but I think this team has shown the resilience and the ability to come back and win games where it doesn't have to be a game where you're down 1 or 2 runs and you just blow through your fantastic pitchers out of the bullpen in hopes of winning. So as long as Tracy continues to do that, I think there's a very good chance we go into the playoffs in excellent position.
Well, there's a lot of things from this weekend series that Chad Tracy did where he just came up smelling like roses. I mean, look at today's game. Jahmai Jones was your leadoff guy, gets 2 hits. Oh, sorry, we're going to pinch hit you. Mickey Gasper comes in, and he delivers. I mean, those things just, everything was clicking right. The whole play with, like, Eli White coming in from even last night with the big hit, knowing his spots, knowing the situation.
And it's because he's keeping them fresh. He's allowing them to get those positions. You know, everyone sort of always used to bag on Cora about that, especially when we were losing. Oh, we're putting these guys out. In order for those guys, now I know, Nick, you talk a lot about the 2018. Anybody could have coached that team to a winning series. There were at least 2 or 3 different positions on that rotation where he was bringing guys off the bench. Pearson was not your starting first baseman all the time. He and Moreland went back and forth. It was Nunez and Devers at third base. He had guys coming in and out of the lineup that he had been playing all season long that had reps, that had gained confidence, and he showed confidence in them. And when they came to the plate, they delivered. And that's an important thing moving forward.
It's a great point because those moves that were made, yes, 9 times out of 10, those players came up and it was magical. They got the job done. Case in point, Alex Cora looks like he's a genius, you know, for all the wins in there. So I don't want to discredit Cora for 2018 by any means. Cora was a very important part to that team winning and everything. I just think what happened was the luster wore off quite some bit. Cora thought he had a 2018 team forever, and he just didn't have the matches and the players and the mix and the jive for what was ahead in the future for him. All right, now it's time for the Martinello Minute.
And now the part they don't want said out loud. No spreadsheets or corporate spin, just the truth, raw and impatient. This is the Martinello Minute.
So listen, the Red Sox at Fenway Park. Thank you. The Red Sox at Fenway Park earlier this year, obviously it was terrible. They looked lifeless at home. We had comments from our leader, IKF, talking about how there's just too much. I don't remember exactly what the comments were, but not things that you'd like to hear out of a guy that's signed on a 1-year deal. That's supposed to be evidently a leader on the team. But first 37 games of the year, they were 12-25 at home. It was the worst home record in baseball. It was the most losses in baseball at home at that, through that many games. Starting on June 25th, since then they've played 29 games at home. It's 22-7. It's the most wins across the major leagues at home. It's the best winning percentage at home. in the major leagues. I can't emphasize enough just how important that is to just know that if I'm playing at home, I have just the confidence that we are going to win this game, no matter who's on the mound, who the opposing pitcher is, who the opposing team is. When the Red Sox are winning games at home, we saw it last year, they are a completely different team. As an opposing pitcher at Fenway Park, when that stadium gets loud, when fans start going crazy, when you have just whole 360 degrees of fans doing tarps off, that whole stadium just closes in on you. The Green Monster feels like that it's 250 feet away, not 310 feet away. The pesky pole feels like it's 150 feet away, not 8 feet away, whatever it is. It's a small stadium that gets a lot of people in there. And when they're loud, it's an incredibly hard environment to play in. You even saw it today. Aroldis Chapman in the 9th inning with 2 strikes. Him and Rutschman had to do a mound visit because he couldn't hear. And that's the last out of the last pitch of the game, last strike of the game. It's a very, very, very terrifying environment to play in when the Red Sox are playing well there. We saw early in the year when they weren't playing well. I mean, it was a quiet stadium. Teams were beating up on us there. It wasn't fun for us. We didn't want to go to a game. And it's hard to get fans that are Red Sox fans into that stadium when they're not playing well. And obviously it's a completely different story, when they are. But just, that run that we had, a lot of it was on the road. It's really nice to see that they're winning these games at home too. And, they're not easy games either. All 3 games in the series, comeback wins. On Friday, it was a 1-run comeback. Yesterday, it was a 2-run comeback. Today, it was a 3-run comeback. Speaking of comebacks, going into the All-Star break, the Red Sox hadn't come back from down 3 runs once this entire year. They're tied Major League now. Since the All-Star break, they've come back 3 times, down 3 runs, and they had that 1-4-run comeback against the Rays during that 15-game win streak. They have the second most amount of sweeps in the major leagues with 11. I think they had 3 sweeps before that stretch of wins came. They have more sweeps than the Dodgers. They have more sweeps than the Yankees. They have more sweeps than the Cubs. The only team in Major League Baseball that has more sweeps than them is the Rays, who have the best record in the American League. They win. These guys win. They had a 2-7 or 2-8 stretch, 3-7, whatever it was. Before this series. Outside of that, last 51 games, or now 52 games, they're 39-13. The last 2 times in Red Sox franchise history, they've had that record in a 52-game span. 2018, 2004. Just to throw that out there when we're in 2026 and the American League is what it is. And then finally, just the second half that has been so magical for the Red Sox. They're top 5 in the American League in batting average, on base, slugging, OPS, runs, doubles, home runs, extra base hits, and total bases. So for an offense that was struggling to find their identity for this entire season, they've found it, and these guys are playing out of their minds from all aspects of the game. And it's just not just a 9-man effort. We've been talking about it. It's guys coming off the bench every single night. It's not just the home runs. It's not just the doubles. Guys are putting the ball in play. Guys aren't striking out. Their strikeout numbers have gone down about 4% from the first half to the second half. On base climbs that way. So just, everything that these guys have done over, since the All-Star break, it's been a complete turnaround. And a lot of the credit does go to Chad Tracy because he's been able, him and Breslow have been able to work in tandem, figuring out who's going to be with the team, who's going to be down in the minors. And, with all the injuries these guys have had, they've found a way to, persevere above it. And it's been really fun to watch.
You know what time it is?
What time is it, Nick?
It's time to face the facts.
It's time for Face the Facts, where excuses get laughed out of the room, your feelings are irrelevant, and your opinion probably doesn't matter. No spin, no cope, just the facts. And now, your esteemed host, Nick Face!
I need the center. There I am. Yes, I stayed last. Usually I go first when Jim hosts, but I felt, why not save the best for last with my statements? No, John, I am not going to crap all over your statements from everything you said, so don't worry. You're good. all is good in the land. What I do want to talk about, though, is something that I feel deserves some attention, and that is our lovely MASH unit will be returning to a theater near you. If I can find my image. There they are. The enforcers, they're coming, whether we like it or not. Now, of course, when I do my graphics and I do my work, I always have a way of going about my business. Case in point, why do you think Roman Anthony is number one on my Mount Rushmore here? Well, that's because we care about him the most, and we want him back here as soon as he's ready. I put IKF in the bottom left. He's my number 2 guy that I'll take back. And then the one I want to drive to the airport tonight, hopefully, for his ticket to Siberia, that he'll never come back again, is Trevor Story. Unfortunately, that is going to be very unrealistic. So I am preparing myself for all 3 of these guys to be returning in the very near future. We heard a report that said Roman Anthony will be coming up to do his rehab in Worcester starting, I believe, tomorrow is the plan, or Tuesday. John or Thayer can confirm on that. We have an evaluation day tomorrow for our IKF and Trevor Story. They are returning to Boston to figure out what the plan is moving forward. And I'm worrisome on that front, guys, because Chad Tracy did come out after the game today and said it's very difficult to rehab 3 guys down in Worcester. So my money is on somebody of the IKF or Trevor Story front is taking that flight to Miami right now. Do we have any confirmation on if any of those guys are on this flight right now? Because I am very nervous that Trevor Story is our shortstop starting tomorrow. Anybody want to take the lead?
I haven't heard anything at all, but actually just kind of going back, none of the 3 of them have really been producing. We heard the monster. So that was kind of, and I don't want to jump in your space here, but I think that this week of winning has been beneficial to the fact that it might buy them a little bit more time down on the farm to recoup and to rehab better, as opposed to bringing them up now. Because if they bring these guys up and they're not ready, and we talked about it before, Story rolls into this place 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, it's going to be an open season.
Yeah, I
go ahead, John.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say on the front that I find it surprising that they had already figured out on Roman Anthony what they wanted to do with it, and I found the comments surprising on what they're doing with IKF and Story. That was the reason why I wanted to have this up for a conversation. It's not the fact that these guys aren't coming back. They are. It's about when they're going to be back. And I don't want these guys rushed up here. Specifically Trevor Story. I personally would rather see Trevor Story not come back until at least rosters expand. Because I don't want to part with a Nick Sogard. Like, would this team send... I would only hope not. Tony Sigler probably would be the guy would go first. Then there's this whole thing with Roman coming back. What are you going to do with Eli White? What are you going to do with Jaron Duran? What are you going to do with Jahmai Jones? I don't really want to part with Eli White and Jahmai Jones. I guess I'd say sayonara to Duran, but that just... I don't think the Red Sox are going to go down that front there. So that's why I think maybe 2 of these guys don't come until September 1st.
Yeah, so earlier today we saw a tweet from, I'm sure all of us have seen it, from Hunter Knoll. And,
yes,
you know, he covers the minor leagues, all, you know, from the FCL all the way up to Worcester. And go through his page, you're going to have a really hard time finding him say a negative word about anybody ever.
Agreed.
He put out a tweet today, and I'll just read it. But
Go ahead.
It says, in the nicest way possible, I've watched a week of Trevor Story now, and I know it's only a week, but I have zero idea how he's going to help the team take over anyone on the current roster. He's brought nothing positive to the table on the field in Worcester. The at-bats are brutal. I haven't gone into I haven't looked at what his numbers are specifically, during this rehab assignment, but I'll take Hunter's word for it. I can't imagine the at-bats are great. I saw another tweet earlier today, just like the StatCast Gamecast view of an at-bat, and it was a strikeout where all three swings are on pitches that are at least 6 inches out of the strike zone. So I think we could all picture in our minds what that looks like with Trevor Story. There's the tweet right there.
I'm just going to expand it. So
that's telling. If a guy like that is putting that out there, I'd get very concerned about where Trevor Story is at right now. So when it comes to him and IKF going to Boston tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever it is, and doing their evaluations, if one of them is going to come up, I hope that it is IKF, just because that gives Chad Tracy somebody to throw in for Monasterio in a game when you need defense. It plugs a hole that that you don't need in the lineup every single day. But Trevor Story, I'm not excited for all of a sudden. Where I'm not going to say I was excited for him, but I was definitely ready and kind of at ease with him coming back into the fold of things.
We like Nick Sjogard, but we got to go back
a tweet.
To,
yeah,
there we go.
We could keep looking at that. But
I would love to.
I'm concerned here. I mean, Thayer, you said it. If he comes back and the bat isn't at least league average for the first couple of games, first week or so, what are we doing? We're trying to make the playoffs. We're 3 games behind the Yankees. It's kind of out of the picture, kind of not. You're 6 games behind the Rays. Like, the division's not. You get one hot week and they come back down to earth for a week. You have a shot at the American League East division all of a sudden. So Trevor Story, just I can't say that I want him back now, and I don't know what his timetable looks like for how long you could keep him on a quote unquote rehab assignment, but I'm fine with IKF coming back. Trevor Story, I don't know.
I think it's going to be interesting to see what we get tomorrow out of this report back to Boston. I really do. And I was getting in a little Twitter battle. I'm not going to name names on anything, but if people go to my Twitter or X, you can figure out who it is. I called Trevor Story an entitled brat. Do you guys feel he's entitled? Because I do.
I don't think he has the power anymore that he did have when Cora was here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh, man.
The entitlement ultimately comes down to the contract and what John Henry wants to do with it. Because from a simple 2026, what have you done for me statistically speaking on the baseball field? Trevor Story is not one of your top 26 best players and shouldn't be on your major league roster. Now, yes, he was injured. I don't know how long he was injured for while he was struggling. That's not for me to know. But now he has an opportunity to go to AAA and to prove that he's capable of producing. He has yet to do that. And I don't think, and this is where the entitlement really is going to come down to what Henry thinks we're going to do with that money. Because Story is getting paid one way or the other. Does John Henry want to pay that money for someone to sit in Worcester and wait till September 1st to come up? Or does he want that money being spent at the major league level? We're going to find out very soon just how invested in winning Breslow and Henry are if Story comes to this baseball team before September 1st. If he's up earlier than that, and then let me rephrase that. If he's up earlier, hitting the way he is currently, going 0-fers and 1-for-4s and striking out, then we're going to know that it's simply a monetary thing, and that's just how it's going to be. Otherwise, maybe this team has something.
One of the at-bats today, I forget what inning it was, but Story chased 3 pitches that were clear as day out of the strike zone as well, too, today. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go back to our buddy Matt McCarthy from 98.5 The Sports Hub on the Baseball Reporters last week, who hit it out of the park with the spot-on analysis of exactly the player Trevor Story has become. Last season, when Trevor Story was going hot, what was that streak? Right around late May into the early beginnings of July? Right around
It was
there?
That series in Atlanta.
Yeah.
End of May.
There was whatever going on with relay that, or signals or whatever that was being done, that he was knowing ahead of time what was being thrown. In my opinion, Trevor Story cannot play Major League Baseball well when he does not know what pitch is coming anymore. Can't do it. And that is a massive red flag on the play for me. And that is the number one reason why I don't even want Trevor Story back on this team. I don't want him with the Red Sox again, period. I'll even come out and hit it right now. I don't want him here. I have never wanted him here, and I don't want him back. So if it were me, his bags would be packed, and I would tell him, go home. We don't need you. Thank you. Bye-bye. And deal with it in the offseason. But I don't think the Red Sox are going to do that. That's just how my style of being Mr. GM, putting the hammer down, I would go. What do you think on that? Do you guys think that that's a valid take? Because I thought Matt McCarthy was spot on.
Yeah, he's one that I'm not typically. I'm not the largest fan in the world of him, and a lot of the times I disagree with what he has to say. But his Trevor Story take, I think I watched it like 3 times last week, and I was like, damn, like every single. Yeah, he knocked it. You said it. He knocked it out of the park. It's spot on.
We saw it through 2024 and through 2025, the beginnings of it. Constantly, everybody knew that you beat him with fastballs. He was incapable of hitting fastballs. That the only time he made contact was when they threw something off speed, and it just sort of went into a swing path. He cheats too much. He gets going too early on the fastballs and has no ability to do anything about it. That's why he gets beat up with fastballs, and he's always flailing at the breaking pitches away because he's out in front cheating, trying to open up to get there. So, yes, I wouldn't be shocked if there was something along the lines where he had an idea of what was coming, which allowed him to be more successful.
Can I be mean for a minute? Well, I'm going to be mean anyways, so I'm just going to go with it. That's why Alex Cora and Trevor Story were a match made in heaven. Ha ha ha, below the belt. Both a bunch of cheaters. Moving on, we are going to go next to everybody's conversation right now, and what we're having is rotation. That's what needs to lead us to the promised land. And we are on the dog days of August, as we all know. Many of these guys are at their innings limit. But what I did here with my graphic, as you know, I always have a method to my madness. I ranked from my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 guy. Did I really want the 5 guy in there? Not really. But I don't have another choice right now. So it is what it is. Here we have Sonny Gray, Peyton Tolley. And by the way, I just absolutely love that picture of Peyton Tolley. It's my favorite one of them out there. That is just classic. Just fantastic. And then I could have put the Chalupa in there instead of Ranger, but I didn't want to be that cruel tonight. Jake Bennett, who keeps on surviving. He's that theme song, I'm a survivor guy, keeps going. And then Patrick, I don't like any Sandoval as my 5 guy. Let's have a conversation about the rotation, guys, because we're at a point right now where we are probably a little concerned where we're at with how we got to get through September with some of the results that we have seen recently for some of them. So let's hit it with Sonny Gray first. Do any of you guys have any concerns or discussion points that we want to reach with Sonny Gray?
I don't think I have any concerns. I would like to see an opportunity for him to limit a little bit of his innings going forward to save some of those bullets for the playoffs. But I would say, Nick, from your graphic, there's one very important omission that I would put probably right between Bennett and Suarez.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that is going to be the way this team works down the stretch. That it goes with a 6, we'll call it pitcher rotation. Not necessarily starter, because you're going to have to get an opener for the first inning all the time. But I think Brian Bayo is going to play a very important role in maintaining a lot of these starting pitchers' availability come playoff time.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Sonny Gray this month, it's 25 innings, 22 hits, 6 walks, and 25 strikeouts. In there, it's also, I think it's 8 runs. It's a 2.16 ERA this month. And I think that over his past 4 or 5 starts, he hasn't been as sharp as he typically has been throughout the year. There's been a lot more traffic than there was earlier in the season. But again, it's a 2.16 ERA through 25 innings this month. Yep. The numbers under the hood aren't going to be as happy with it. But then again, Sonny Gray's been in this league for 16 years. Nobody knew what FIP was 16 years ago. He's an old school pitcher who all what he cares about at the end of the day, did my team win the game or did they lose the game? Sonny Gray's tied for the Major League League in wins this year. He's 16-3. I'm not concerned about him whatsoever. Thayer, I think it's a good idea. If they could get him out of the game in the 5th inning, do it. But that goes along with every single other pitcher on the staff outside of Ranger Suarez, who I think needs to have a couple of those 7, maybe an 8-inning game. But Sonny Gray, I'm ecstatic about.
I do want to make a statement on. I know we're talking about the rotation on here for our 5 guys that are here to kind of air it out and figure out where we're going next. You mentioned Sonny Gray only going 5, which I get. Our problem that we have right now, though, is depth within our bullpen without Whitlock and without Justin Slayton and guys that are probably hit that wall more in the bullpen probably than even in the rotation a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I am nervous with cutting starts short, with overexposing the bullpen, which is drained right now. And I didn't put the bullpen guys up there, but I know they're a big component to all of this with the rotation guys being there. But I need more out of some of these guys in particular in this rotation right now.
Totally agree. And that's why I think Suarez, and I would say Bayo, and I know you hate it, but Sandoval, you just expand him.
No, I agree on it.
Those are the guys that have to expand. Totally, you try to reduce. I think Gray he's a veteran. He should be fine. Bennett, I think they have to be very careful with. I don't even know if I consider Bennett a playoff kind of pitcher for me. He's not going to be a starter if he's there. Really what this comes down to is the offense. And I mentioned 5 innings. So when I talk 5 innings, I'm talking 5 innings the way we have been pitching lately, where every single pitch matters. If we get a couple more of these blowouts, Tolley, and you can leave Gray in there, they don't have to pitch with such aggression. They don't have to throw 100. Throw the ball 93, 94, 95, throw it over the plate, get some more ground balls, put a few balls in play. You give up a few runs, that's fine. I don't care if we win the game 12-5, you win 7 innings, gave up 5 runs, gave up 8 hits, but you maintained and you weren't throwing max effort all the time. That's going to be a very important aspect as we move forward.
Yeah, even today's start for Jake Bennett, he did not start out well at all. And it was a surprise because typically first time through the lineups and everything, he's traditionally pretty crisp and pretty in rhythm. And he was out of whack at the beginning today. Our group chat that we have going on is like, oh, great. Here we go. Get Bayo up. Guys, he threw 7 innings today. If you told me that first inning was going to turn into what he did and had a quality start and get a W out of that, no way in hell. And he figured it out. So whatever Jake Bennett's Houdini act is, with if he can give me 3 runs or less in any of his starts and be quality, I'm not going to complain. I shouldn't have even said anything from the beginning because I was the one that started it all today. I go, oh, here we go.
But it had that feeling. He was not sharp.
Game. He was not at all.
Yeah,
the walk to Devers that started it, and then I think it was a double. It was a double by Willie Adames after that.
Yep.
And
then another hit, Eldridge after that too.
Eldridge hit.
But yeah, I mean, the first inning today was 23 pitches. Thayer, last night you messaged me. He's like, what does Bennett have to do today, to just impress you enough to be like, okay, maybe just have belief in him. And I told you, first pitch strikes, and how many pitches is he throwing per inning? First inning today, 23 pitches. After that, he didn't have more than 10 pitches in an inning until the 7th inning. Second inning was 8 pitches. Third inning was 7 pitches. Fourth inning was 8 pitches. Fifth inning was 9 pitches. Sixth inning was 10 pitches. And then he finished the day off with 19 pitches in the 7th. He gave up a run in there. It was the Little League home run.
Yep.
Ridiculous. I think that Willie Abreu had a problem with the fan in the upper decks.
Cough.
But yeah, listen, all in all today, 77% strikes. He was just pounding the zone. And when you pound the zone, other opposing teams tend to get a little bit more aggressive on you, and that's where you could get an out in those first 3 pitches of an at-bat. For a guy that I think he strikes out 19% of batters he faces, he needs those, and he needs to be pounding the zone and not just throwing the ball over the plate, but hitting his corners. And, he's been able to throw strikes the whole year, but when he, these last 5 starts that he's had before today, and even today in the first and second inning, that changeup that he's just been painting around the corners, that pitch has started to go over the middle of the plate.
Yep.
After the second inning today, that changeup, low in the zone, hitting the corners, getting away from right-handers. The sweeper was another one that he kind of has gone away with. It's a pitch he only uses 7% of the time this year. I think it was up to around 15% today, and just all the lefties that were in this Giants lineup, he was just peppering them with it. Devers, every at-bat, showing him sliders or the sweeper early in the count. Bryce Eldridge, the guy's 7 feet tall, peppering him with low and away sweepers. Just that pitch is going to be just like how Peyton Tolley, his curveball is super important to how he performs. Jake Bennett with that sweeper, it's going to be super important for him to just keep using that pitch when he doesn't have his A game, his A+ stuff with this sinker or his changeup. So all in all, just Nick, you said it. How the hell did he do what he did today? Throw first pitch strikes?
I know why.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news!
This is why I get paid the big bucks, because
What
I
happened?
heard after the inning was done, Jake Bennett got a Jiffy Lube job.
Excuse me?
He got a Jiffy Lube job because he kind of like a nut when it's rusty. You got to put a little WD-40 on it because he was out of whack, guys. He had 8 days of rest. So his mechanics were a little bit off. So that's where I think that first start in the beginning of the game, he was just off because he hadn't been in rhythm for a little bit of time. That's a long time off for a guy traditionally who's not on the IL or anything like that. I'm sure he obviously throws his side sessions and stuff like that. But I think that has a lot to do with how that first inning went today, is he had to get himself loose again and figure out his mechanics and adjustments. So, yeah, he got a Jiffy Lube job. There you have it.
It's a good save.
Ranger Chalupo here. I mean, or whatever I call him. Chalupa 27, whatever. This is my X factor right now. And I understand people have come at me a little bit with my take and said, oh, the Chalupa is the best thing from Taco Bell. So it's actually a luxury item. Yes, because I want him to be a luxury item, you idiots. He needs to throw better. That's the case in point here. They babied him this entire season, and somebody got to get in his face and tell him to get with the program. This is your guy that you gave the big bucks to this past offseason. You need him when the going gets tough. I shouldn't have to sit here and worry about him laboring through 5 or 6 innings. It should be automatic, and it's not, because for whatever reason it is with Ranger Suarez throughout his career, some sort of switch doesn't go off. And I know he's had some postseason success, and maybe I'm just overreacting.
It goes off in the postseason
because it's the regular season, and maybe when the postseason comes, that's when he shines. But it's infuriating right now to watch him throw and be a pure bag of garbage at times when he's throwing, because he's better than what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely frustrating. I totally get it. And I think it's imperative now that they just extend him. It doesn't matter. He's got to just build up those pitches, get to 100, get to 110. Because all I've heard from people that I know with the Phillies organization were that when the lights are the brightest, this guy's blood pressure goes down and he produces. So that's ultimately going to be what makes or breaks this year for him. Because from the standpoint of the season, it's been a lost one for him. He's come out. I know you made this point last time. I don't know how this man, of all the starting pitchers in our rotation, how he was the all-star representative for the Boston Red Sox.
It's staggering.
But he was. So he's capable of it. Now, he's got to make his money in the playoffs, and we need to see him ramp it up. John, it's I know earlier in the season you were talking about of all of our pitchers that might be impacted by ABS, Suarez might be the guy because he works on those corners so often, and maybe he's starting to, especially coming off these injuries, he doesn't have the stuff that he really expects to, so he's getting even more, we'll say Daisuke Matsuzaka-ish, where he's really living on those edges of the plates, trying to get people to go beyond their strike zone. I do hope that as he develops coming down, they have to extend him. They cannot continue to baby him. He needs to be able to be in the situation where come playoff time, he is a 6 to 7 inning pitcher.
Careful when you mention Daisuke Matsuzaka, because you don't want to be in the same realm of Tom Karen like he did last week on Sunday. Don't be a Tom Karen awesome. Now.
Oh, you weren't talking about Masataka?
I was not talking about the Macho Man. I was talking about that pitcher that loved
to second base.
Mr. 3-2 count. That's who I was talking about.
So I'll say this on Ranger Suarez. Obviously, this dude's made his career out of the postseason. He's been there, I think, every single year of his career. 42.2 innings. It's a 1.48 ERA, 4-1 record. That's all great, but we still have a job to do, obviously, over the next, I think, 34 games or so for the rest of the year. Nick said it, Thayer said it, I've said it, Jim said it, Tom said it, everybody said it. We need him to start getting, we need him to throw 6 innings or more. And, we're starting to see him get back up into that being in the realm of possibilities. His last 2 starts, he's gone 5+ innings. His last start was the first time since June that he threw 90 or more pitches. In that June start, it was 6 innings, and that was the last time that we've seen him out there. Into the 6th outside of his last start, which was against the Diamondbacks the other day, where it was 4 earned, which was just really off 1 pitch, that grand slam. But his last time out, 5 1/3 innings, only 3 strikeouts, but he threw 93 pitches. So going into tomorrow in a game, which we'll get into it in a couple of minutes, but I'd expect him to be 0 restrictions whatsoever. Go at it. You're out there until the wheels fall off, or he gets hurt again. But I think that throughout the rest of the year with Ranger Suarez, it's just going to be the leash is off and go get him until you can't anymore.
You just make everybody feel so much better when you have that voice of reason to you with Ranger Suarez. You just do. I get all the butterflies and good feeling vibes and everything when it comes to that. Not. Anyways, anything else that we want to chime in here with our rotation? We kind of went over Bennett. We all know about Patrick Sandoval. I must say, last night, yes, was I infuriated at times with Patrick Sandoval. Guilty as charged, 100%. But he gutted through it, and he only gave up 2 runs. And I'm not going to complain on that front.
No, as your starter, dude, he's doing everything you're at. He is a human being with breathing that can throw the ball. And as long as he keeps you in a game, that's all you need.
Yeah, and I think that we've been spoiled all season with how well the pitchers have been from game 1 through today. And we kind of have forgotten that a number 5 pitcher is supposed to be, or is normally, a 4.5 ERA, type of guy. That's just really, he could get the job done, but he's out there to give you innings. And that's what Patrick Sandoval is. And again, Nick, you just said it. Yesterday, we were, 2 innings into that game. Even in the third, I think he got out of the bases loaded jam. It was.
I can hear myself now.
It was ugly. It was really ugly. And honestly, the entire start was really ugly, but he got the job done. And, you look at the stat sheet afterwards and you're like, oh shit, that was a good start. So I like that version. I'd rather you scare me than give up 7 runs like he did in Pittsburgh. But yeah, listen, if he could give you 6 innings, 3 or 4 runs given up on any, on an average start,
that's a winnable ball game.
Not too much anyone can complain about out of your number 5.
Nope. All right. It is time to look ahead to the Marlins. The Red Sox will be traveling. They probably already flew out, probably landing already there in Miami right now. We have a 3-game set. Weird start times. It's 6:40, so a little earlier than usual. Your first game has Ranger up against Sandy Alcantara. Then you have Peyton Tolley versus my favorite pitchers of all time, the TBDs. Be interesting to see who they throw for the Marlins. And then I am so thrilled about this, guys. You knew I was going to mention this game on a Wednesday because that is your traditional getaway game. It is not a 1:40 start. It's a 6:40 start. Hallelujah. So that's our 3-game set here. Let's get into it on figuring out where all 3 of us hosts think the team will be at throughout the series. Let's lead it off with John.
Yeah, so what really intrigues me about this series is what the Red Sox are doing from the pitching front. Obviously, these guys are going to be going on their scheduled days, but we've seen recently that they're fine with doing a bullpen game. They're fine with doing, throwing out somebody else. They have a 4-game set against the Yankees right after this, and maybe Ranger Suarez is available in that series. It's
John,
an interleague.
He better be, or I'm going to be bullshit. He better be.
It's an interleague, interleague play, and they've played a lot against the National League lately. I'm just confused as to why you want to be throwing your top 3 arms in this series and not against the Yankees, where that's a series where they should have a shot to overtake them in the wild card standings and in the American League East standings. Obviously, it's a lot of work to do if you want to, move pieces around, but you're getting your top 3 arms in this series. You got to win at least 2 out of 3 of them. The Marlins, they're no slouch. Obviously, I think it was in end of July, beginning of August, they were on a first half Red Sox slide. But they've come back to water. They're 3.5 games out of a playoffs spot in the National League, which is much more competitive than it is over here. They're going to be throwing all their bullets at you too. Sandy Alcantara, obviously Cy Young winner. They have a TBD game 2, and then they have Ryan Gusto, who, it's an arm for sure. But
he does my tax reporting.
Exactly. But listen, it's a series, just plain and simple. You got to win 2 out of 3 of these, and preferably you win the last game, and then you have a day off, and then it's this battle in New York, which very well could decide where that wild card game's being played.
Thayer, where you at?
I think 2 out of 3. And Nick, I agree that I would love to sort of see something in here where they maybe use the Bayo game Tuesday, push Tolley back another day, and then Gray starts the Yankee series. At least knowing you can get Gray in the Yankee series and Suarez can come back in that Yankee series. I think what they're looking for here, I think I'd rather have Sonny Gray and Ranger Suarez than Ranger Suarez and Peyton Tolley on the back end of that series, because you're going to probably see them Saturday and Sunday, which is unfortunate. But I'd say 2 out of 3.
I'm going to go for a sweep. I'm just going to be different here. I think tomorrow will be a game that Ranger Suarez proves why the Red Sox signed him to the contract. I think he's going to be hearing this podcast while he's landing, and he's going to hear my voice, and he's going to say, this jerk from Boston who just craps all over me, I'm going to prove that jackass wrong. So I'm hoping that that's the take that we'll get for tomorrow for it. That's probably the best, obviously, matchup that you'll see in the series. No slouch, as John said. Sandy Alcantara is a formidable pitcher whose name always seems to be coming up in trade rumors all the time. Just always seems that there's something going on with him, and yet he's still a Marlin. Peyton Tolley's game, I think Peyton Tolley up against my lovely TBD person. I have all the faith in the world that Peyton Tolley will be great, and we'll have no issues moving on that game. And then we'll have the finale with Sonny Gray. What I want to see out of Sonny Gray is keep the pitch count down. Like you kind of said, Thayer, 5-6 innings with a rested bullpen. If you can get, a big lead ahead of time, get him out, let him rest up. I ideally wouldn't want Sonny Gray to throw on Wednesday, kind of like you guys said the same. I'd rather save him for the Yankee series, because if he throws Wednesday, there's no way he's coming back for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday tilt with the Yankees. Not going to happen. Maybe they do make an adjustment. Maybe we do see a Gamboa as an opener with Bayo. Do you guys know when the last time Bayo pitched was? It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah. He's only pitched 4 times this month. Last time we saw him was in the Diamondback series.
Okay.
Or actually, maybe it could have been Sunday even earlier than that. It was the game. It was 6 days ago.
Not the Sunday game. I'm sorry.
It was the Friday game, wasn't it?
Friday.
Or no, they played.
Before that, he threw.
No, they played the Diamondbacks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. So what game in the Diamondback series did he throw? Monday night?
It had to have been Monday.
Okay, so he hasn't thrown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Bayo's got to get in here somehow.
Yeah.
That's why I was surprised. I agree, John, with what you said. I was very surprised then with how this rotation has come out with what we're seeing right now.
They may still adjust it. They probably just have had it out.
I would rather
We're waiting to see what happened.
Yeah. Let Gamboa throw an inning and a half and then get Bayo in. Ideally, I'd say go for that on Tuesday. Let Ranger Suarez throw tomorrow. Let him see what goes on, and maybe Tuesday we'll see, well, we're going to hold Peyton back a couple days, have him throw to maybe start the series off on Friday for the Yankees. That would be great. That'd be great. But I agree. If we're counting on Brian Bayo, I need to see him throw. I really do. I don't want this rusted nonsense like I kind of made my disgustingly funny joke regarding Jake Bennett. We don't need any more of that. So let's keep the rhythm going for some of these guys here.
Yeah, he pitched Monday.
Okay. All right, we are going to go to comments. We're going to go to comments pretty quickly here tonight, folks. We understand we got a lot of comments from stuff here, but we also have been on for an hour, almost an hour and a half, and we want to keep it short and sweet for it. So, guys, I'll have your help and assistance on this a little bit. Are there any comments that we have seen quickly that deserve a spotlight or attention?
Nothing major. I tried to answer everything.
Roman to DH when he returns. That one stood out.
That's an interesting conversation.
Yep.
It's sort of it depends how you want to look at it. I think if he goes to left field, if he starts in left field, you have most likely it's going to be Duran and it's going to be Jones platooning at your DH. And then you still have White to play as a defensive replacement in left field, but also to give days off to Abreu and Rafaela. If you put him at DH, he locks down the DH position, and you have Duran and White platooning in left field. And now Jones is kind of left out on an island where he's simply because he's not really good enough defensively to go in and sort of spell Abreu and do those sort of things that you need him to do on a more than relative regular basis. So I would say as a team, as a lineup, it's better locking down left field with Anthony and allowing Duran and Jones to DH. And heck, if things aren't going well for Duran, if he slumps, you still have Gasper and you have other opportunities to do that. Where if you have Anthony at the DH, you really just have Duran and White to play left field.
Yeah, and I think everything that you said, spot on. But especially that first week or two that Roman does return, I don't think it's much of a headache, because we're gonna see exactly with him that we're seeing right now with Adley Rutschman, where he's gonna play in the field for a day, he's gonna DH for a day, they're gonna give him a day off. That's probably what the cycle's gonna be for the first 10 to 12 games that he's back for.
And I do think that we'll be seeing Jarren Duran on the bench quite frequently moving forward too. I just do. I have more faith right now in Jahmai Jones and Eli White playing a little bit more. I'd rather play them. I truly would. I've given up with anything on Duran. I really have. I know he's at like a 270-ish clip over the past, 30, 35 bats or something like that. I just don't. I want to be done with it. Kind of like with Story. I just want to be done with it. Move on. Focus on the good that's there and just get out of my life. It's just kind of how I felt on it. Here's another comment from Michael. Sandoval and Suarez need to eat some innings. Yes, they do. I completely agree on that. I think that's going to be one of the Achilles heels for this rotation and bullpen, is if those two guys can give you bare minimum 6. That's huge to spell the bullpen. It really is.
That was probably the extent.
I like this one here. White and Jones stay. Bring back Roman. Fix the lineup. Have Story come back after September 1st. I don't think anybody cares about IKF. Sogard shouldn't be going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think I care a little bit more about IKF because he's a very good, steady presence with the glove. And I've been worrying about the glove a lot. I mean, look at our Little League play that happened in the 8th inning here tonight, guys. I mean, if the Red Sox had IKF, Monasterio's out of the game at that point. He is. And that's either IKF or Story that's playing shortstop. Yeah. 9 times out of 10, that's an out. And Wilyer Abreu doesn't have to airmail the stands for the, 3rd or 4th time this season?
I think that was the worst throw I've ever. That's something I would do when I was, 16 years old in AAU ball, trying to show it off.
Wilyer Abreu dodged all the bullets here tonight up until this point. But, guys, I need him down for bare minimum 3 games. Bare minimum. He's got to get himself right. It's upstairs right here. The home run long ball swing ain't going to cut it with me anymore. And Wilson Contreras, same deal to you too. You've been wonderful this season. This is not me knocking on you. This is me being the critical podcaster looking at things to help improve the team stance right now.
Yep.
Stop with the long swings. That is where the trouble begins with those two guys, because I don't want that. I want line drives. I want driving the ball with authority. I don't give 2 craps how far and long your home runs go. I know Wilson Contreras hit probably a 500-foot moonshot, which was Friday night. I get it. But you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care. I want you to win ball games and get on base and knock your runners in and not strike out and make unproductive outs. And Wilyer Abreu, by the way, last night got it very lucky with making contact and the runner being safe at home. He did. Because it really wasn't a hit. It was more of a sacrifice or whatever it was called, or a force. But that was an 0 for 5 night last night, and then another 0 for 4 again tonight. So something got to give here, because you got guys that are chomping at the bit when they step up with opportunities with your Jahmai Jones and Eli Whites, who want playing time. And we have seen what happens when these guys want it. They try and go out and get it. The hustlers. So it might be time here to start figuring it out.
Yeah. Just because you said Jahmai Jones, I just want to ask the question: what do you guys think his slash line is since he's come over to the Red Sox?
That's crazy. He's sitting over 500, isn't he?
Yeah. It's a 520 average, 1,000 slug. It's a 1586 OPS.
Put him in the Hall of Fame.
And now that my brain's thinking about it, Chad Tracy today, again, this whole series, he pushed all the right buttons, but Jahmai Jones was 2 for 2 today, single and a triple.
Then
he pitched it for him immediately for Mickey Gasper, and immediate RBI double out of him. It could have even been a triple, but I think there were no outs at the time, and obviously he's not he doesn't have Eli White speed, but
would
just
you guys
another.
rather see Mickey Gasper play more than Duran right now?
It's difficult just because of where they are positionally on the field. But if we're DHing,
guys. Yeah.
If Roman's back and that DH hole is open, it's definitely just a big platoon, and I think Duran has to have the maturity to accept that he's just going to be a plug and play player once Roman Anthony's back.
But speaking about Mickey,
it's not going to be good. Go ahead.
Did you see him coming around first base on his double?
I thought his hamstring exploded.
I thought he was either he was. I'm like, oh my God, it's Yoshida again. Either that, or I thought he was going to take a dive. Like, oh my God, he's just going to fall over in the middle of the baseline. Like, oh boy,
dive. We almost. I thought
yes.
Raffaello was out. I thought that wrist snapped. I really did. When he came up and got that hit to start the game. Speaking of which, how rude of us. We didn't even mention the game that he had today. What a game.
Yeah.
He has been the unsung hero of this team this season. Truly. To see where he has gone and elevated his game to, no way would I have expected that from him. He has been
I'm going to take a little bit of props for this, and not that I have anything, but for granted, it only sort of as a group we've only been together for a little while. But talking with Jim over the last 2 to 3 years, I was irate that they continued to move this man from center field to shortstop, from center field to second base. Mm-hmm. Every time they made that defensive move, his offense went down. He is a gifted center fielder. He's not Jackie Bradley Jr., but he's probably the second best one that I've seen in my lifetime playing center field for the Red Sox with all of his capabilities. So the fact that they are now leaving him in a place where he's comfortable, where he doesn't have to focus all his energy on playing defense, it just comes naturally for him. He can now take the time where pregame, before all those aspects, focusing on the offense, keeping himself mentally prepared, not exhausting himself mentally for all those other things that he had to do, understanding where he's positioning on the infield, stuff like that. That has gone a long way, and I'm so thankful that this team didn't decide, let Duran play center, move him into short after Story got hurt and all these other things. Thank God they didn't make that move.
Yeah.
Not one inning. Not one. At all this season.
This is what you're getting.
0.
Yep.
You hit that one. It seems like that's the grand slam of the night right there. That's the new segment we'll have. Thayer's grand slam. That's what it was. But yeah, he's been a completely different guy with the focus shifted towards just working on his gifted abilities for center field and with the bat. And we have seen him just become such a fan favorite and anchor of this lineup and team that you can trust. It's wonderful to see.
And he's one of those, he's a baseball player where obviously I'm super in tune, and a lot of people are now with, looking at the advanced metrics, and they don't like Cedar Rafael at all. But, he's just a player where he doesn't need to get off his A swing every at bat. He doesn't need to be swinging the bat 78 miles an hour. He doesn't need to, have the most gorgeous swing in the world every single pitch or every time he decides to swing the bat, which he does a lot. But he look at his at bats today. His first 3 at bats, 3 hits, all with 2 strikes on him. I don't think any single one of those balls that he ended up hitting were in the strike zone.
Yep.
He just goes, I know that he's been in kind of like a swing mode thing right now, but the guy knows how to put the ball in play, and he finds holes. He doesn't have to hit the ball 120 miles an hour. He drops the ball over the shortstop's head, drops the ball over the second baseman's head, puts it right in front of the center fielder, gets a 98 mile an hour fastball in on the hands with 2 strikes, shoots it over the first baseman's head for a double. He's just his strikeout numbers for how much he chases. You go compare what his strikeout numbers are to other guys in the league that swing as much as he does and chase as much as he does. He's above league average in his strikeout rate. So just the hand-eye coordination that he has and the ability to mix in his defense and his speed and his arm, his decision making. He's just a complete baseball player that we're very lucky to have. And we talk about the contract all the time. With the defense that he has, he doesn't have to do much at the plate to, play at the level of what he's getting paid. So just a special player that I'm happy that we have locked up here.
Anything else anybody wants to mention before we wrap up our hour-and-a-half edition?
Yes.
Red Sox Digest.
Just one last thing, and Nick, I really enjoyed your sort of discussion on the rotation, and I know it's still August and we have a long way to go, but the first wild card sort of scenario, you're looking at 3 starters: Gray, probably Suarez, and most likely Tolle. Now, we've been talking a lot about players that are going to come back and have an impact on this team. Is Roman Anthony, or when is Roman Anthony? When is Story? When is IKF? There's one other name that I think could really be an asset if the Red Sox get into the ALCS and the ALDS and those sort of things, where you need 4 starting pitchers. Because we've talked about, I think Bello is probably your 3rd, if not your 4th best starting pitcher right now, but he's not a starting pitcher. And we have been struggling with finding someone to start games. There is one individual who we've been talking about ramping up a little bit. If we can get 1 or 2 innings out of Garrett Crochet, imagine that. Crochet is your opener for Bello. Now, that could be something come playoff time that makes it a little bit more interesting.
Speaking of Garrett Crochet, today or tomorrow will be his 120th day that he has spent on the IL, which means something's changing his contract. His 2030 opt-out is nullified. It's gone. And now the Red Sox get a 2032 club option on him for $15 million. So it stinks. Obviously, I wish that, he was able to have 32 starts this season, but, looking down the line and in the later years of this contract when he's still going to be a young pitcher, having that, ease that he might not look to go play somewhere else in a couple of years, and we'll have him, on our terms in that last season of his contract. It makes the deal a little bit sweeter, makes the price that we paid for him, a little bit sweeter. Obviously he wants to get it back out there, and I'm excited for it. He's up to 90 feet now. He's throwing every single day. Hasn't had a setback in a while. Teams, you get Garrett Crochet throwing 1 or 2 innings in a playoff game, and then you get bullpen Bello. Tough game to lose.
Bullpen Tanner Houck coming at you too.
Bullpen Tanner Houck too.
Discount that. That's going to be another weapon. That's a huge.
We're going to cross sports here, but given the fact that we have an NBA champion, so the last time they were NBA champions, Mr. Willis Reed came walking into the Madison Square Garden and set everybody down. Imagine that. He rolls in out of the, they start playing a little Stone Temple Pilots, and away we go.
He's back. Should be interesting. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We had a great view count, great interaction with all of you tonight. We appreciate it all. If you really like our work and you think that we are worthy enough of a nice donation, by all means, please subscribe and like and keep on checking in on the Red Sox Digest pod. There's also articles every day done by Thayer, John, sometimes myself, depends on the time and everything that we have. But we hope you all enjoy your week ahead. Go Red Sox. We'll be with you likely Thursday to recap the Miami Marlins series. Have a great week. We will see you all soon.